Welcome back to another episode of listening to Canberra Voices. I'm Harrison Frater. Today we're joined by Jack.
G'day.
And we are joined by the very special guest and talented footballer, young Sasha Grove. Sasha is a Canberra United player. It's good to have you on the podcast today.
No, awesome. Thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Without further ado, we wanted to jump straight into the recent World Cup that just finished last month. What was your thoughts of the whole, Matildas taking over the country?
Oh, it was absolutely incredible. Going to Matildas games in the past, the amount of people that we've actually had come to games has been max maybe like 40,000. But having it skyrocket up to 80,000 is just immense. And I'm sure you guys have seen the football fervour all around the streets, people actually wearing jerseys. And it's that representation. I haven't seen that before, and it's just so exciting. It's hard to put into words, really, because growing up as a kid, I didn't see that quite as much. You would see your typical, Messi or Ronaldo namesakes on shirts, but now you're seeing, Catley, Rasso, that kind of stuff. It's just incredible. I think Nike made a statement that the Australian women's jerseys, got sold out. They sold so many shirts. So if that doesn't speak to how much football has grown in at least the past few months, I don't know what does.
Yeah, I think I got the last shirt on the shelf when I tried to get it the other day. It was they were just nowhere. Everyone was just getting all types of merch, like hats and everything. Yeah. Do you have a favourite Matildas player yourself?
Oh, me and Dad absolutely love the Matildas, but one of our faves is definitely Steph Catley. She plays left full back, and she's just incredible. She's so good at controlling the ball, and she sees the game really well. She takes a lot of corners and free kicks for the Matildas, and she scored for Australia off of those, as well as for Arsenal in the WSL. But yeah, she's an incredible player, incredible athlete, and really taking the helm of the team for this tournament. Sam was out for a fair few games, but she's such a leader on and off the pitch. So it was really beautiful, really, to see someone that I try to model my game around, playing football at the World Cup where you want to be. So it's so good.
And what was your favourite moment of the whole tournament?
Oh, gosh, that's so difficult. But my family and the family of my little sister went and saw the England versus Denmark game. If you guys have seen Reece James in the EPL, you look at Lauren James and you're just, amazed. I remember he, put a post up on Instagram being like, my sister is incredible. She's going to be an absolute baller. And she was. That was the first time that I've seen her playing in person, and her touches are so silky smooth. And the goals that she scored, incredible.
I thought we might have had a bit of a one-up on England because she was out. She had the red card against Nigeria, right?
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate moment for her. We all make mistakes when we're on the pitch, but she moved past that and came on and did her job in the final. But yeah, absolutely immense. She's been killing it in the WSL. If you've seen all the goals she's scored, she's really smart. And she's just an incredible young talent. I think she was one of the really good young people playing during the World Cup. It's vital in Australia that we are having that kind of representation. People can go out and see a game. And it gives me a lot of hope heading into this A-League women's season that people will continue to come to our games. You've seen Melbourne City and Victory, their memberships have been smashed, the records for that. So many people are coming, and that's what we're trying to do here in Canberra. So please get your memberships.
Just this morning, I think Lauren James got PFA Player of the Year for England. So it just speaks volumes at how good she is. Did you see any games live in Canberra, at the live screenings or anything?
No, my family just didn't get around to that. I've been in and around away here in Canberra, here in Sydney. But the games that we did get to watch, we went and saw the opener, Australia versus Ireland, and it was incredible. I've never seen so many people. People painting their faces green and gold as well. I thought that was sick. Australian culture really is the best. The crowds are so loud. There were so many people who hadn't seen a lick of football before in their life just engaged with it. It was just incredible. But that was such a cool game because it was so tight and it came down to that Steph Catley penalty. And man, it was sick. It was so good. Watching it go in, the crowd was just electric.
And being that this is the most successful Women's World Cup that we've ever seen, how has it inspired you as a young Matildas representative to keep pursuing this as a career?
I think it just speaks volumes on team. Because, any football team you play with, it's all about the unity. And those girls had so many challenges coming into the World Cup. It wasn't the best winning streak that they were on. They did have a lot of highs and lows. Of course, beating Sweden 4-0 a few months ago was really, really vital for them, as well as beating France or tying with them in a friendly, can't remember which. But it's just building confidence within themselves was the most important thing, because there's so much that the media can say about teams. When I reflect on this, I think of us during last season when we beat Sydney FC 1-0 and then our points got taken away from us for an issue I will not address, and then we got them back. So it's just silencing the noise around them, and they were just so good in their own belief, and you saw the way that they reacted to Mackenzie Arnold's penalty saves against France, the way that they embraced each other when they missed, and then when Courtney Vine scored the final goal that sent them through to the semis. Oh, so good.
Everyone was calling Mackenzie Arnold the Minister of Defence.
Stopped the nation that moment, honestly.
It did. What effect do you think like that World Cup will have on Canberra and its footballing scene? Like you said, you're really looking forward to that next season with Canberra United.
Yes.
Do you hope people continue this impact and this train?
I think it's really important, especially in terms of the grassroots football we have here in Canberra. You know, we do like to start kids young on their football journey, but what did they say? We made $888 million in revenue from the World Cup, and $200 million of that is going to be reinvested into women's football. So it's really important that the basework, the pillars of grassroots football is addressed, so that everyone has equal access, equal opportunity. Because when you don't have that, it's just going to disincentivize people from actually playing football. The World Cup as a whole has been really, really crucial for a lot of people to see what is possible, to aspire to be a Matilda or a Lioness, wherever you're from, and really go and chase that dream. Because everyone here has supported the Matildas, and I know that support is going to filter all the way down through A-Leagues, through Canberra NPL, all the way to your Pee-wees. It goes all the way.
What would you like to see, that $200 million that's going to be put back for the government? What would you like to see that go? Is there, obviously grassroots, but maybe in programs? What do you think as like a player yourself?
A really great initiative that's being pioneered at the moment is women's football clothing, actually suited for women and fitting women. So there's a emerging football brand called Park SSC. So they're doing a lot of work in changing the game for women's football by making clothes that actually fit our bodies. Because not every woman is the same, not every man is the same either. But for a lot of us growing up, we were playing in men's kit. So paying attention to small things like that, what I would call small game changers, is going to be really important. For the rest of the money, I think a lot of grassroots communities here in Canberra, so if we're talking Woden Valley, Bell North, those kinds of things, they already have the structures in place to support young people. I think I played with Woden Valley since when I was 8 to about 11 years old, and those are the best 3 years of my life before I started taking football a little bit more seriously. So the coaches that they have and the people who are in those organisations are really supportive, so there's nothing wrong there. But it's just continuing to reinvest into the facilities, because as you've seen in Canberra, we don't have the best pitches, I would say, apart from McKellar during the A-League season. So that would be something to look forward to, and I hope that they pay attention to. And I think you've also heard of the Throsby Home of Football that they're trying to do here in Canberra. So that's supposed to be like an elite sports ground here in Canberra, because that's not something that we have. If we look at the Raiders, they have those kinds of facilities available to them, as well as the Brumbies. And it's awesome that that's being carried to the Raiders women as well. But for us to even think about potentially having a men's side here in Canberra, we need to have the facilities to support them. Really investing in the facilities available to us would be something really important for the future.
And you kind of mentioned earlier, with the clothing, for example, there's a little bit of a inequality, I guess you could say, between male and female athletes. What do you think needs to be done more in Canberra to help support female athletes?
The female athletes here in Canberra, a lot of the kit that we use is recycled. And I know that in itself is a bit of an issue, because you just get heaps and heaps of kit build up and you don't know where to go, what to do with it. But there's a lot of really good people here in Canberra. One of my teammates, Emma Ilioski, they have links with Sierra Leone, and they regularly, every year, send out a huge shipment of football clothes that people aren't using anymore to these kids, football clothes and boots as well, because not every community is is equipped with with that kind of equipment that I think people like myself could easily take for granted. So having things like that can really help in that turnaround. So if we want to invest in more female-specific clothing, that is, it's something that we can tangibly pursue for the future.
Sasha, you've had a pretty successful career so far as a young athlete. Can you take us all back to where it started?
I'm a family of 6, but I have 3 other siblings. So my brother's the oldest, so he was the first one to play football. My dad used to play football. He has a newspaper clipping of him getting a red card from the 80s, when he was young. So football's definitely a part of our family. Mum's from the UK, she's from Manchester, so half of our family support Manchester City, half of us support United.
Oh.
I know, it's a bit...
What are you?
I'm a City fan, so I've been there since the darkest of days, and we're prospering now. But no, football has been part of our family DNA for a really long time. I started football when I was 8 because that's what my brother and sister were doing, so I wanted to join in with them. But at the time I was also doing running, so I used to be a cross-country runner, and I was pretty good at it, but I was very small, so that got a bit more tricky as I got a bit older because, doing 2 sports at once, as much as I enjoyed it, it can be very taxing on the body, so I had to make a decision. So after playing with Woden Valley until I was 11, I was playing with Capital Football, as it was termed at the time before it turned into Canberra United Academy. So I played with the academy since, 12 to 16, before I then moved to the New South Wales NPL competition. And have been playing there for the past 2 seasons. And that competition has been absolutely amazing. Not to say that Canberra hasn't been, but it has a lot of A-League players playing in it because it's in Sydney. And that's been absolutely amazing. But for me, my brother has been my biggest... He's been my biggest cheerleader, but he's also been my biggest inspiration. I feel like a lot of siblings can say the same, You see them do something first and they show you that it's not scary and it can be enjoyable. And he's always been part of my journey. Whenever I want to go down to the Oval and kick a ball, he will pack up his books and go down with me, which has been really lovely because I know it's not possible for everyone. But I've also had a really supportive family who love football as much as I do. So it's been a breeze.
So, take us back to the day when you first found out that you were selected for the Young Matildas. How did that feel? Well,
you get an email. No, before we have any kind of camp, you get a provisional squad email. And so you go, okay, we'll see if we get in. So I've definitely been in and out with junior Matildas and young Matildas. So, and I feel like that's part of the football process. Sometimes you're in, sometimes you're out, sometimes you're starting, sometimes you're on the bench. So you really need to accept that process. So whenever I would receive those emails, I'd always take it with a grain of salt. Not that I don't believe in myself, but, sometimes you just don't make it into things, and that's the way it is. The most recent qualifiers we had to go to Vietnam to qualify for our Asian Cup, which is in March next year. I was like, I'll see if I get in. I don't know, because I really care about my football, but I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, because it is a high-performance environment. But when it came through the final squad, I was really excited. Not only for myself, but for the other people who've supported me on my journey. I feel like that's something that a lot of footballers don't speak about, but is very much internal to them and their own journey. So, yeah, it's really exciting, but, yeah, it's an email, and then you have to pack your bags and get ready to go, check your mind in, know what's coming, what you have to do. But, yeah, it's rewarding, but it's also instilling in yourself this drive, because it is competitive. There's only 11 spots and so many chances you have to prove yourself.
And looking back to when you first started playing as a little girl, did you ever see yourself where you are right now? Young Matilda, you got the under-20s championship next year. Did you ever see yourself in this position?
When I was younger, I kind of wanted to do everything. I wanted to be good at every sport. So not until the past 3 years ago did I really think that football could be something for me. And everyone has a different perspective on this. Some kids, even when they're 8, they're like, I want to be a professional footballer. But for me, that wasn't the case, because I was so invested in my running at the time that I just hadn't comprehended that. But seeing the Matildas do so well and how inspired Australia is as a nation, it really empowers me to want to achieve and be competitive and win. So that's the mindset moving forward.
That's kind of surprising that you weren't at the start focused on football and now it's kind of become your whole world. The last question I have for the day is, what has been the highlight of your career so far and why?
Oh, that's so hard. How do you distill it into one moment? Oh, geez. Well, one of the most rewarding things I find post-game, whether that be for Canberra or for me recently playing with Illawarra, is the interactions we have with our supporters. So recently with Illawarra Stingrays, that's who I've been playing with for this season, we were playing a game against Apia and we were down 3-0 at halftime. We came out from the sheds back onto the pitch and we ended up winning the game 4-3. It was just the most incredible feeling to bounce back, to win after being 3-0 down, let alone against arguably one of the best teams in the competition. Carrying that on into Canberra after games when we're talking to our supporters, it just means the world, because there's so many young people, old people who are so engaged in football. And it's just beautiful to have these exchanges with people that ordinarily you wouldn't talk to, but you're both united by the same sport, by the same 90 minutes that you both enjoy and love. So that's one moment, but it's something I really enjoy.
And just finally, what's one thing you would tell your younger self, if you could?
If I was a little bit younger, just to enjoy the process a little bit more. When I was younger, I used to take what I perceived as failures very, very seriously, as if everything in my life was controllable. Because that's not the case. So many things are out of your control, like the weather. I can't control if it rains or not. But for little me, I would take those things a little bit too far and be a little bit too hard on myself. So if I could console younger me, who's the same size, still short, just enjoy the process, because that's how you become better. And if you're stuck in the past, you're going to stay there. So that's something I would say to myself.
Well, that's all we have time for. On behalf of Jack and I, thank you for coming on the podcast today, Sasha.
No, thank you. Had a blast.
This podcast series is part of the series Listening to Canberra Voices, made at the University of Canberra, Faculty of Arts and Design 2023.